Come closer. The shadows have missed you, and tonight they have a new story to tell. Welcome to Scary Stories After Dark. Snow dusted the two-lane road like sifted flour, thin enough to see the blacktop underneath, but thick enough to swallow sound. Agent Hardy pressed her gloved fingertips against the passenger window and watched the Oregon pines drift past in slow, skeletal lines. December sunlight barely survived the cloud cover, bleeding through in a diluted gray. Christmas lights blinked lazily on the scattered houses they passed. Half-burned bulbs, drooping wreaths, inflatable Santas collapsed like dead bodies in the frost. Steele drove in silence. He always did during the approach, hands at 10 and 2, jaw locked, eyes fixed ahead like the road owed him answers. Hardy respected the ritual. She had her own. She exhaled, fogging the glass. The air inside the car felt colder than it should have been, or maybe that was just her nerves picking at her bones. Up ahead, a row of police cruisers came into view. Their lights weren't flashing. Protocol for closed cases, but their presence looked wrong in the winter quiet. Hardy skimmed the scene. Yellow tape snapped weakly in the wind. Boot prints stamped into old snow, and the outline of a farmhouse slumped back against a line of leafless trees. Steele downshifted. Hardy's pulse climbed. The farmhouse looked exactly like the reports described. Abandoned, sickly green paint peeling in strips, windows papered over with what looked like old circus posters, their faded reds and yellows barely visible through frost. The Sammy house. 5 missing young adults had been found inside 2 nights ago, days dead, butchered, mutilation kept off the record. Hardy hadn't seen the crime scene photos yet, but based on the way the sheriff described it over the phone, she didn't want to. Steele stopped the car. The engine ticked. Neither moved. Hardy finally broke the silence with a breath that came out too thin. Feels colder here. Steele didn't look at her. Temperature's the same. He popped his door open. The winter air slapped them both. Hardy stepped out and immediately felt watched. Not by the officers milling near the tape, not even by the forest. It felt higher, like something leaned over the roof of the house and stared down at her with a grin it hadn't earned. She shoved the feeling away. They walked side by side toward the tape. No conversation, no need. Hardy scanned the windows. Everyone was covered with those circus posters, curling at the edges, bright colors long defeated by time, wind pressed against them from inside the house, like someone walked room to room, brushing them forward with a fingertip. Hardy paused. Steele didn't. He ducked under the tape first, flashing his badge at the sheriff. Hardy followed, forcing her breath steady. The sheriff looked tired. gray in the beard, sleepless in the eyes. "You two taken point?" Steele nodded once. "We'll go inside." Hardy's stomach tightened. "Who found them?" The sheriff gestured toward the house. "Neighbors saw lights flickering through the windows, thought squatters got in." He swallowed. He was wrong. Hardy didn't ask for more. She wanted her first impression of the scene to be unfiltered. Steele pushed the front door open. A soft jingle drifted out, not from the door, from deeper inside. Hardy froze mid-step. "Did you—" "I heard it," Steele said. They stepped over the threshold. The smell hit first, cold air, wet wood, and something sweet, like stale peppermint crushed underfoot. Christmas lights, the old glass kind, hung in tangled loops across the ceiling. Only one blinked, faint and arrhythmic. Hardy's breath stuttered. Someone was standing in the upstairs window. A silhouette. Tall, still, watching them. Then it stepped backward into the dark. The floorboards groaned beneath Hardy's boots as if the house resented the weight of the living. The air inside was colder than the winter outside, unnatural cold, the kind that slid under her coat and pressed against her ribs like a palm made of ice. Steele scanned with his flashlight, the thin beam slicing through the dark. Dust caught the light in slow falling spirals. The house smelled wrong, like wet soil, spoiled peppermint, and something faintly metallic. "Clear the main level first," Steele said quietly. Hardy nodded, but her eyes drifted upward, toward the window where the silhouette had been. The upstairs landing sat in complete shadow now. Too dark, too quiet. They started down the hallway. Christmas lights dangled from the ceiling beams in clusters, blinking in no discernible pattern. One flashed red-green, then nothing. Another flared bright enough to sizzle before going dark entirely. Hardy kept her hand near her holster, not because she thought a living person was in here, but because every instinct in her bones told her the house had teeth. Something small clattered behind them. Hardy spun. A jingle bell, rolling slowly across the dusty floor. No draft, no cause. Steele crouched and picked it up with gloved fingers. The metal was ice cold. Frost clung to the inside of the bell. Inside. His jaw tightened. Probably staged. Hardy stared at it. By who? Steele didn't answer. They moved deeper, stepping through a narrow archway into what must have once been the living room. The walls were plastered with circus posters, dozens of them, all peeling, all warped with age, all stamped with the same grotesque clown face, its painted smile too wide, its eye makeup drooping like melting tar. Hardy reached out and brushed her fingers over one. It felt warm, no, pulsing. She snatched her hand back. Steele didn't notice. He'd crossed toward the center of the room, where a circle of children's toys lay scattered on the floor. A jack-in-the-box, a cracked plastic horse, a cloth clown doll missing an eye, all arranged in a perfect ring. Hardy's breath caught in her throat. "These weren't listed in the evidence logs," Steele murmured. "Maybe they didn't search the whole house," Hardy whispered. Steele straightened. "At a 5-body crime scene? No, this was set after." Hardy swallowed. "For us?" Steele didn't answer. A faint creaking noise drifted from the back of the house, a slow, rhythmic sway like something hanging or swinging. Hardy motioned toward the sound. Back room. They approached cautiously. The creaking grew louder and louder. And then, music. A music box, a warped melody, off-key and dragging, a twisted lullaby buried in static. Steele pushed the door open with 2 fingers. The room beyond was empty, except for the blood-stained outline on the floor where one of the victims had been found. And the music box sitting dead center, playing by itself. Hardy's throat tightened. Steele. He shook his head, jaw clenched. Mechanical defect. Hardy almost laughed. Almost. The crank isn't moving. The music played on. Steele stepped forward, but Hardy's arm shot out. Something shifted in the corner. A shadow. Not shaped like a person, too tall, too thin. Its limbs bent the wrong way. Hardy felt her ribs cinch. Steele. Whisper. Barely a sound. He turned. The shadow froze, hovered, then twisted backward. Into the wall. Just slipped inside it. The music box cut off. Silence rushed in so hard Hardy felt her ears ring. Steele whispered, "We're not alone in here." Another jingle bell rolled across the floor, but this time it didn't come from behind them. It rolled out of the dark hallway ahead. And this time, it was followed by a giggle, high, childlike, and not human. The bell over the diner door chimed as Hardy and Steele stepped inside, shedding the cold like a second skin. The blast of warm air should have felt comforting, but it only made Hardy's body aware of how frozen she'd been inside the Sammy house. Her fingers were stiff, her jaw ached from clenching, her heart still beat too close to her throat. Steele took the booth facing the door, always did. Hardy slid into the opposite side, her eyes drawn to the frost melting on his coat. The condensation trickling down the leather looked like it shouldn't be melting at all. A waitress passed them menus. Hardy didn't touch hers. Her hands still trembled. Steele noticed, pretended he didn't. "2 coffees," he said to the waitress, voice flat, business as usual. Hardy kept her gaze on the window. Outside, snowflakes drifted in slow spirals. It should have been peaceful, a postcard winter morning. But the glass held a faint reflection of the house, her mind replaying the warped circus posters, the toys in a perfect circle, the shadow that folded itself into the wall like it had bones made of smoke. Hardy's voice came out low. "That wasn't human." Steele didn't blink. "We don't have enough information to say that." "I saw it." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "I know what I saw." Steele wrapped his fingers around his coffee mug as the waitress set it down. Impressions in old houses, rotting insulation, lights flickering, your brain can fill in gaps. Hardy didn't answer immediately. She stared at the rising steam curling from her own untouched mug. "My brain doesn't giggle, Steele." That shut him up. For a moment, neither of them said a word. The diner hummed with low Christmas music, instrumental, soft, supposed to be cheerful, but it twisted in Hardy's ears, the melody bending into the off-key music box tune from the back room. She gripped the table edge. Steele watched her, quiet, observing, skeptical but not dismissive, just trying to stay tethered to logic the way he always did. "Let's review," he said finally. The victims were found on the upper level. No forced entry, no defensive wounds, no signs of struggle. Hardy's whisper barely moved the air. Steele, they were butchered. His jaw clenched. "Yes." Another beat. And no sign of the killer, no footprints, no fingerprints. Hardy turned her gaze to him. Then how did he move through the house? Fly? Steele didn't answer. His silence was louder than any theory he could have offered. Hardy leaned back, exhaling slow. "Everything in there was wrong. The air, the toys, the temperature drop." Her voice thinned. "The bell rolling toward us." Steele's gaze flicked toward the window. Someone could have been upstairs. Her eyes followed his. The diner window reflected the soft interior glow, their booth, the quiet customers, the snow outside, and Hardy's blood iced. For a blink, just one. A clown mask pressed against the outside glass. Wide grin, black tears, fogging the window from the outside despite the cold. She blinked again and it was gone. Just empty snow falling on an empty parking lot. "Hardy?" Steele asked. Her breath shook out of her. "Thought I saw." She stopped. Because she didn't want to finish that sentence, because she didn't want Steele to look, because saying it out loud made it real. Steele's eyes softened, barely. "You okay?" Hardy nodded once. "A lie." She swallowed hard. "We need to go back, not now, but soon." Steele didn't like that. She saw it in the tightening of his shoulders. But he didn't argue. He slid out of the booth, tossed cash on the table, and nodded to the door. Hardy stood, her knees unsteady. As they stepped outside, the wind carried a faint sound, like tiny bells being shaken somewhere in the dark. But when Hardy turned, the parking lot was empty. The hotel lobby was warm enough to fog Hardy's glasses the moment she stepped inside. Holiday decor framed every corner, cheap garland, red bows, a plastic Santa with a dead-eyed stare. Someone behind the desk hummed a Christmas tune off-key, the same dragging melody from the music box. Hardy shivered. Steele didn't notice. He was already moving with that tight, purposeful stride he used when he was trying not to admit something got to him. They checked in with minimal words, separate rooms, always separate, protocol and preference. Hardy's keycard clicked. Room 214. As soon as she stepped inside, she exhaled, finally letting the tension leak out of her spine. The room was plain. 2 lamps, a neatly made bed, a bathroom she didn't want to think about in the dark. She peeled off her coat and sat on the edge of the mattress. Her hands still smelled faintly of peppermint. She froze, breath caught. No, that wasn't possible. She hadn't touched anything scented. Hardy scrubbed her palms against her jeans, but the smell didn't fade. If anything, it intensified. Sweet, rotting, wrong. She swallowed hard and stood, pacing, anything to burn the adrenaline building under her skin. A faint knock thudded somewhere down the hall. She paused. Another knock, then a third. Slower, more deliberate. Hardy backed away from her door without realizing it. Her pulse hammered. Her fingers twitched toward her holster. But the knocking stopped. Silence seeped back in, thick as syrup. She forced herself to breathe and peeled her phone out of her pocket. 15 missed notifications, emails, procedural documents, nothing from Steele. But she knew what she had to do. She grabbed her coat again, because the house was calling her back. Not loudly, not aggressively, just insistently, a pull beneath the ribs, a whisper in the bone. She hated that she felt it. She hated even more that she couldn't ignore it. Hardy slipped out, silent as snowfall, and headed for the exit. Steele's room 201 was 2 doors down. His lamp burned bright through the narrow crack in his curtains, a thin rectangle of yellow slashing across the hall carpet. He was awake. Of course he was. Inside, Steele stared at crime scene files spread across his bed. His laptop glowed with the dull blue light of archived reports, but it was the autopsy file that held him still, frozen mid-breath. Samuel Quinn. Cause of death, asphyxiation from foreign material. Material found in lungs, confetti. Temperature of body at time of discovery, 31 degrees Fahrenheit internally. That wasn't possible. Steele scrolled further, handwritten notes from a detective long retired. Candles burned to the wick, salt ring undisturbed. He wasn't alone when he died. Something finished the ritual. Steele clenched his jaw. Hardy's unease suddenly made too much sense. He didn't believe in the supernatural, but he believed in patterns. And this one was grotesque. He closed the laptop and marched straight to Hardy's room. He knocked twice, firm, controlled. "Hardy, open up." No answer. "Agent Hardy." Still nothing. A slow dread crept into his chest. He knocked harder, then harder again. He tried the knob. Unlocked. He stepped inside. Empty. Her coat was gone, her boots missing. Steele's pulse spiked, cold and sharp. He scanned the room, eyes slicing through shadows, breath tight. A piece of paper lay on the nightstand, not a note. A torn scrap of a circus poster. Red spirals, black tears, a grin that made Steele's vision tunnel. He didn't hesitate. He grabbed his coat, dialed Hardy's phone. No answer, and bolted for the lobby. "Taxi," he snapped to the front desk clerk. "Fast as you can get one." The clerk blinked in confusion. "Sir, it's almost midnight. There's only one." Steele slammed a 20 on the counter. "Now." Outside, the wind howled. A jingle echoed from somewhere across the parking lot. Steele swallowed hard. Because he wasn't heading to a crime scene anymore. He was heading into the mouth of something alive. The forest swallowed Hardy the moment she pulled the patrol cruiser onto the shoulder and killed the engine. Silence dropped like a curtain. The headlights cut through the snow-heavy dark just long enough for her to step out. Then the cruiser's automatic lights flicked off, leaving her standing alone with nothing but the faint hiss of wind moving through dead branches. Her breath plumed white in the cold. The world felt held, waiting. She closed the door softly, not wanting the sound to echo. She didn't know why. Instinct, maybe, or something deeper, something old and watching. Ahead of her, the Sammy house loomed between the trees, its rotting green siding glowing faintly from strings of dying Christmas lights that flickered in slow, mismatched rhythms, like heartbeat patterns, like someone whispering in Morse. Hardy swallowed and tightened her grip on her flashlight. Steele would kill her if he knew she came back alone. But she needed more time, more answers, more proof that what they felt earlier wasn't in their heads. She forced herself forward, boots crunching the thin crust of snow. The house seemed to breathe with her steps. Every foot closer, the air grew thicker, heavier, like someone had turned up the gravity. Something creaked deep inside the house, slow, dragging wood, a sound that didn't belong to weather, settling, or anything natural. Hardy stopped at the front porch. The boards were frosted, the rail half collapsed. Christmas lights sagged like dying veins. One bulb flickered red, green, too slow to be electrical, too intentional to be random. Hardy's pulse hammered. Just evidence, she whispered to herself. Just evidence. The front door was slightly open. Her chest tightened. She hadn't left it open earlier. No officer reported returning. No wind could have budged that swollen, ancient wood. Someone or something had opened it for her. Hardy's fingers brushed her holster. Then she pushed the door all the way open and stepped inside. The house exhaled around her. The temperature dropped instantly. Frost gathered on the inside of the door behind her. She turned, instinctively wanting to leave. But the door slammed shut before her hand even reached for it. The bang shook the walls. Hardy jerked back, heart hammering. "Steele?" she called, even though she knew damn well he wasn't here yet. Silence answered her. Then, a faint jingle deeper inside the house. Hardy lifted her flashlight, the beam slicing through the dark. The toys in the living room ring were gone, completely vanished. The floor lay bare except for one thing. A single jingle bell, placed dead center. Her breath stuttered. She knelt slowly, light trembling in her grip. The bell was warm. Hardy stood abruptly, pulse thundering. She scanned the hallway, every sense screaming for her to leave, to run, to get Steele. But the same pull that dragged her from the hotel tightened now, like an invisible fist closing around her ribs. "Show yourself," she whispered. A soft giggle drifted from upstairs. Not playful, not childlike. Wrong. Hardy's throat closed. She climbed the stairs anyway, one hand on the rail, the other steadying her flashlight. Each step creaked, and after the third creak, another creak answered. Not hers, close. Following. She spun around. No one there. But the hallway behind her had changed. The wallpaper dripping, the circus posters shifting, the air vibrating, like the house had inhaled. Hardy forced herself forward. At the top of the stairs, the air grew thicker, warmer, heavy with the scent of burnt sugar and peppermint. Her stomach flipped. The music box tune began again, not from a room, not from the hallway, from everywhere. Hardy swallowed, hand shaking as she lifted the flashlight higher. A door at the end of the hall stood open a crack. A soft red glow pulsed inside. She approached it, each step slow and deliberate. The red glow grew brighter, warmer, heartbeat-like. Hardy reached the doorway and eased it open. Inside, candles burned in a perfect ring, red and white striped, melted into warped shapes, dripping wax that smelled like peppermint and old blood. In the center of the ring lay a clown mask, half melted, the painted-on smile sagging as if it were trying to speak. Her flashlight flickered, the floor vibrated beneath her boots. Then, a voice behind her whispered,
"Hardy."
Her blood froze. She turned. There was no one. But the hallway behind her had disappeared, replaced by the warped grin of a circus tent entrance painted across the wall, its mouth stretched wide like a maw. The candles went out, the flashlight died, total darkness swallowed her whole. Hardy screamed, and the house closed its jaws. Steele stepped out of the taxi into a wind sharp enough to cut. Snow swirled around him in frantic spirals, as if something unseen stirred the air near the Sammy house. He squared his shoulders and moved forward, boots crunching hard through the thin layer of frost. The house towered over him like a dead giant. Lights flickered sporadically across the sagging gutter. One red bulb blinked, slow, then fast, like Morse code. Steele didn't look at them. He looked at the car tracks in the snow instead, Hardy's. The pattern was erratic, like she'd pulled in too fast, braked too late. He exhaled a curse under his breath. Steele pushed through the broken gate. The house groaned as if annoyed at being disturbed again. He drew his flashlight, checked his firearm, moved toward the porch. The front door was cracked open. He didn't like that. "Hardy," he called softly, voice steady out of habit. Silence, then a faint shift of weight somewhere deep in the house. Steele tightened his grip. He wasn't afraid. He didn't believe in fear or ghosts or demons or any of the things people like to whisper about in small towns, but he believed in danger. And something in that house radiated it like heat. Steele stepped inside. The cold slapped him instantly. His breath fogged. His flashlight beam cut the dark into trembling slices. The house smelled of mold, old paper, and something faintly sweet, burnt peppermint. He scanned the living room. Empty. But the toys were missing. Hardy's jingle bell sat alone on the floor. Steele knelt and picked it up. It was warm. A muscle jumped in his jaw. "Hardy," he called again. His voice echoed back at him, too loud, too hollow, like the house swallowed it and spit it out wrong. He moved down the hallway, sweeping each doorway with clinical precision. Nothing. No footprints, no signs of struggle. But the temperature dropped with every step. At the base of the stairs, Steele stopped dead. Hardy's badge lay on the bottom step, and beneath it, confetti. Not scattered, placed, a deliberate trail up the stairs. Steele's pulse flickered. He wiped a thumb across the confetti. Frost clung to it. It didn't melt. "Not possible," he breathed. The air shifted behind him. Steele spun. Flashlight raised. A figure stood at the end of the hall. Tall, thin, head tilted too far to the left as if listening to something inside the walls. Steele aimed his light. The beam hit nothing. The hallway was empty. Steele let out a single, measured breath. Visual misfire, he murmured to himself. Lack of sleep, stress, no confirmation. He took the stairs. The house creaked with every step, as though mimicking his movements. At the top of the landing, his flashlight flickered once, twice, then steadied. Hardy's boot print marked the dust near the open doorway at the end of the hall. Steele approached, slow, controlled. He pushed the door open. The room was nearly pitch black. No candles, no mask, no red glow. Just darkness. And in the center of the floor, Hardy's flashlight. Dead. Steele knelt beside it. The metal felt frozen solid, colder than the house. The door slammed behind him. Steele stood instantly, gun drawn, breath sharp and ragged. "Hardy," he barked. A giggle drifted behind him. He turned. The giggle moved. From corner to corner, from wall to wall, from ceiling to floor, as if there were dozens of mouths whispering in the dark. Steele's flashlight flickered violently. Figures appeared in each flash, strobing like a dying camera. Hardy standing behind him. A child in clown makeup. Sammy's melted grin. 5 young adults hanging like ornaments. Steele's own reflection smiling back at him with teeth too long. He stumbled back, breath breaking. No. He forced the word out. No illusions, no entities, psychological manipulation. His flashlight died. Total darkness. Silence. Then, a hot breath touched his ear.
"Steele,"
whispered the same voice that called Hardy. Steele's blood iced. A jingle bell rolled across the floor toward him and stopped at the toe of his boot. Something in the darkness exhaled, slow, delighted. Steele finally understood. This wasn't a haunted house. This was a predator. The darkness didn't stay still. It pulsed. It breathed. Steele held himself rigid, listening as the house expanded and contracted around him like the lungs of a massive animal. He moved slowly, one cautious step at a time, gun raised, flashlight useless in his other hand. A faint sob echoed somewhere down the hall. Hardy. Steele's breath hitched and he moved. The hallways no longer obeyed logic. They twisted, turned, narrowed, widened, doubling back into themselves. Each step felt like walking deeper into a throat lined with warped wallpaper and pulsing floorboards. "Hardy," Steele called, voice sharp and commanding. A whisper answered him, but not her.
"Laugh with me."
Steele froze. The giggle that followed had weight, like something enormous shuddering with amusement in the dark. He pushed forward. Ahead, faint light flickered, thin, red, and trembling. He followed it around a tight corner, gun steady, pulse hammering. As he neared, voices emerged, frantic, muffled, 2 people speaking at once. One of them was Hardy. Steele surged toward the sound. Hardy stood in a room she hadn't entered willingly, a room that hadn't existed when she last saw it. Red candles encircled her, flickering violently, their wax pooling across the floor in peppermint-scented puddles. Her wrists bled where she'd clawed at the walls trying to escape, though she didn't remember making the attempt. Her mind felt fractured, like someone had taken a hammer to her memories and left her to pick up the shards. Something dragged across the ceiling above her, slow, heavy thumps, like a creature crawling upside down. Hardy forced herself not to look up. "Steel," she whispered, voice shaky. But only the thuds answered. Then, footsteps. Sharp, measured, human. Hardy braced herself as the door, if it was still a door, slammed open. Steel burst in, gun raised. Her knees buckled with relief. "Steel." He grabbed her by the shoulders, scanning her quickly, clinically. "You're injured." "You shouldn't be here," she breathed. "You shouldn't have left the hotel," he shot back. Before she could answer, the floor trembled beneath their feet. Hardy stumbled into him. Steel steadied her. And that's when they heard it. A low chuckle. Not from the room, not from the hall. From everywhere. The candles blew out in a synchronized gust. Darkness swallowed them again. Steel clicked his flashlight. Dead. Hardy reached for hers. Dead. Something scraped across the floorboards right beside them. Steel shoved Hardy behind him, angling his body in front of hers. "Stay close." Hardy pressed her back to his. The darkness shifted. Then, a shape stepped into the faint glow leaking under the warped door. Tall, crooked, bent backwards at the spine like its bones had been arranged in the wrong order. Its silhouette wore the tattered remnants of a clown suit, fabric dragging, bells attached to frayed threads. One of the bells jingled softly with each sway. Hardy's breath hitched. Steel's grip tightened. The entity tilted its head, slow. Too slow. The outline of spiraled makeup, blackened tears, and a grotesquely wide smile flickered like firelight on melting wax. Steel raised his gun. "Stop right there." The figure didn't stop. It let out a soft, delighted giggle. Hardy whispered, "Steel, don't shoot. I think that's what it wants." The thing crept forward on elongated limbs, joints bending in ways that made no anatomical sense. Every time it moved, air rushed in and out of the walls as though the house inhaled with it. Steel backed them both away, step by step, until their shoulders hit the wall. The entity crouched, the bells on its costume jingling in a slow, deliberate rhythm like a countdown. Then, in a voice thick with static and broken laughter, it said,
"Time to finish the show."
The walls behind Hardy and Steel split open, revealing teeth. Not wooden, not symbolic. Real. A living maw. The floor dropped beneath them. They fell into the dark. Hardy hit the ground hard enough to knock the breath out of her. She rolled, scraping through splinters and cold dirt. Darkness swallowed everything. The air was thick, humid, wrong. Steel landed beside her with a brutal thud, groaning as he pushed himself up. Their flashlights were gone, their guns somewhere above. The house had eaten all the rules. "Steele?" Hardy rasped. "I'm here." His hand found her arm in the dark. "Stay close." The floor beneath them wasn't wood anymore. It was cold earth, soft, damp, packed down like something had paced here for years. Hardy crawled forward, palms sinking into mud that smelled of old peppermint and smoke. A faint red glow pulsed to life around them. The candles, a ring of them, hundreds, burned in a perfect circle, flames trembling, their wax dripping like blood. Above them, the ceiling stretched impossibly high like the vaulted roof of a circus tent. Stripes of red and green flickered across the fabric as if projected by unseen lights. Steele's breath shook. "Hardy, this room..." "It wasn't here before," she whispered. Their voices bounced strangely, coming back warped, echoes layered over with faint giggling. The sound seemed to skate across the walls, circling them like a predator deciding where to bite first. Hardy grabbed Steele's sleeve. "We need to move." They edged toward a gap in the candles. A jingle bell rolled into the opening, blocking their path. Hardy froze. It was the same bell from earlier. She recognized the dent near the rim, but now it was vibrating, as if something inside it clawed to get out. The giggling stopped. Silence fell so thick Hardy heard her own heartbeat. Then, a breath brushed her neck. She whipped around. The Krampus clown entity stood inches behind her, towering, its form flickering like bad film, the melted grin, the spiraled makeup, the horns curling from beneath the clown wig, frost steaming from its cracked, blackened skin. Steele lunged forward, grabbing Hardy and shoving her aside as the creature struck, its limbs slashing down like a hooked blade. The candles guttered violently. "Move!" Steele shouted. They ran. The house shifted with them, hallways slamming shut, walls folding inward, floorboards rising like waves. Every escape twisted into another dead end. Every turn led them deeper into the house's throat. Hardy felt breath on her heels, the jingle of bells mocking her steps. A doorway burst open ahead, light flooding in from outside. Snow. The forest. Freedom. Steele grabbed her wrist. "Go!" They sprinted toward the opening, but the floor convulsed. A massive clawed hand burst up through the boards, grabbing Steele's ankle and yanking him off his feet.
"Steele!"
Hardy skidded back, grabbing his coat with both hands. The creature's face rose through the floorboards, grinning up at him like a delighted child tearing into a gift. Steele clawed at the wood, boots kicking, veins bulging with effort. Hardy screamed and pulled. The creature pulled harder. Steele's grip slipped. "No, no," Hardy's voice cracked. "Steele, fight it!" "I am," he roared, dragging himself up inch by inch. The creature's claws cut deeper into his leg, frost spreading from the wounds, ice crystallizing up through his jeans. Hardy made a split-second choice. She dragged her knife from her belt, one they never expected to use, and slashed down across the creature's wrist. The hand recoiled, letting go. Steele staggered up, gasping, nearly collapsing. The doorway flickered, weakening. "Go!" Hardy shouted. Together they hurled themselves through it. They hit the snow outside, rolling into the frostbitten forest. Behind them, the house let out a sound, something between a roar and a laugh, as the doorway slammed shut, vanishing into rotting wood. Silence crashed around them. Hardy crawled to Steele. "You okay?" He nodded, breath shaky. "We need to call this in." Hardy looked back at the house. Every window was dark, every bulb dead, every circus poster still. But in the highest window, a faint glow flickered. Red, then green, then red again, like a heartbeat. Steele followed her gaze. "What do you think that means?" Hardy didn't answer. Because she wasn't sure, because she didn't want to be, because the wind carried a single sound. Soft, distant, unmistakable. A giggle.